Hello and welcome everyone to another episode. Yes, so it's been a little while since the drawing and everything else. Been pretty happy about the results. I'm glad that not too many people are mad or anything about that, but the one thing I really want to address is your drawing wasn't based, as far as your entry, I should say, it was not based off of whether your craft was named or not, or any of the actual, like, detail as far as anything to do with the naming or the email of it or anything like that. Jake, I do owe you an apology. I did not realize that you actually created another craft that was the same name or changed. I did not even see it at all, and I mean, that could have affected it a little bit, but I do apologize for that. So there's only so much I could see and, you know, notice, and I don't want to make it sound like I just haphazardly went through this and was just like, okay, well, that one doesn't work or whatever. I mean, the main purpose for all of this was mostly this for everyone in the community to come together, be able to submit something, and for other people to see it work along with winning a game. That's the way I saw it, to be honest. So, I mean, I know some people out there were really looking forward to winning the game, which is totally understandable. I mean, that is kind of one of the main reasons. And why does the water look so funky looking? That is a good question. I did not... it's probably something with the mods. I don't know. That just doesn't look right. Whatever. So yeah, I've been working with the mods a little bit lately, and I got something pretty special lined up now. This is going to be kind of built alongside the Minmus Mega Station, even though they're not on the same save. But it still is going to be pretty amazing. I really tried to optimize a lot of the construction. For those of you who have been a part of my channel for a long time, or at least subscribed because you saw my amazing moon base building and all that other stuff, then yeah, this is kind of one of those things. I'm going to start on a moon base, but I am not 100% certain on how everything is going to be set up. The one thing that's been somewhat of a problem is the fact that while this game will allow you to do certain things, as far as the welding mod is concerned, it doesn't really like certain things. It's very particular on how everything is constructed and everything else. But once again, the welding mod itself, I should mention, I'm using a forum version of it, not the official, because the official at this point, it was updated to the point of the last patch. So the welding mod itself will be updated eventually, but right now I'm using basically an outdated version that's been slightly modified on the people, or from the people on the Kerbal Space Program forums, which if you go to that actual thread, it's somewhere around 51 or 52 on that page, somewhere around there. It will be the actual link to that. And my god, the water just looks disgusting, but I mean, it looks like vomit. I mean, blue vomit. I mean, it almost pretty much looks like if you were to look at somebody's skin under a fluorescent light, you know, maybe with like a pair of binoculars or a telescope. Yeah, that's not nice looking. I don't know. I'm not even going to try to fix that, but yeah. So I've been just trying to take off straight up, basically, because I don't trust this craft so much as far as taking off and everything else, because this is a very intensely heavy load that we are trying to get into orbit, which, ooh, come on, nose up, nose up, nose up. I'm trying to get it into orbit without really using any RCS and stuff like that. But I mean, if worst case scenario, we'll have it. I mean, on this thing itself, I ended up emptying out a lot of weight on these things because I just didn't want all of that to hit the surface and it's just a lot of extra weight that we don't really need for anything. I think I drained out the xenon as well. There's really no point in bringing any xenon with us. We're not going to be using it on the trip, and we can make it when we get there. So the Kerbal Kethane, or Minmus Kethane Refinery, I should say, this is going to be basically one of the first major phases of it. This is going to be mostly to test out whether or not the crane works, whether or not a lot of things work. Because honestly, I ended up revamping the crane completely. Revamping it. It still has the same shape, but everything else is completely changed. It is a totally different crane. It operates totally differently now, which is exactly what I was looking for. One of the major problems on that video was the fact that the wheels were so overpowered that it just lifted right up off. I ended up changing out for the inflatable wheels. I mean, I know they're not inflatable, but the inflated wheels, basically, those actually work a lot better on Minmus. I should have realized that, because I think I encountered this problem a long time ago. I ended up building a very small rover and putting those wheels on it, and it just did not operate the way I wanted it to. So, but overall, it's looking good. I ended up putting a lot of weight on the lower portion of the crane, so now it's weighted down a lot, because I know a lot of people were saying, well, you put no counterweight on the bottom, so obviously it's not going to work out very well. And you were right, and I think that was another kind of one of those things that I realized a long time ago. There's a lot of things that, with these cranes, and a lot of things in my history of building, it's just kind of like that Monday detail that you forget, because you're not using it, you're not doing anything with it. With a crane I built before, while it was functional and it actually was kind of helpful, it was a little bit, it just wasn't really that great for the application. So let's see, we should have a fairly decent orbit. We're still in the atmosphere, which I don't think is going to cause too much of a problem, but I think I'll just knock it up to like 80. There we go. That's more than perfect. So let's see. But yeah, with the cranes and with a lot of things, especially developmental and experimental stuff, it really just it just depends on how much you can honestly remember. If you ever delved into that specific area, and it's how much you can remember if you ever built one before, and then how much new stuff you want to add. And there's always that one new feature that you want to add that you thought of last time, but you couldn't do it because of, say, part limits, or it just didn't work, or it flawed the design. So, it's kind of one of those things where it just I think I got it down now. One of the major things I did as well is equip it with a lot of SAS. I ended up putting the regular SAS unit that I had, and then I put, oh god, I forgot that we can't actually use time warp. That sort of sucks. Go on, get back over. But I think we're okay. I really do. I feel like this design that I used before has been pretty much mastered, and it definitely is going to be either be the last design or close to. I spent a lot more time developing it, and I really took time to make sure everything kind of came together a lot better. The only problem that I think there is, and just the only one I can honestly think of, is that it is a few extra parts. And when I say a few extra, you're talking, I think it's an extra 10 parts. So I can't really complain about that, to be honest. It's not like it really flaws the design or anything like that. So come on. Oh my god, this is so slow. We're close though, so it's not that bad. I mean, 68... Yeah, so I'll see you guys once we get in orbit around Minmus. And we're back, guys. Yeah, so I've been just trying to square away everything for landing. I feel like this is probably not gonna go so well, but I'm not 100% sure. If anything, we'll float over the surface a little bit, but I think we're gonna be alright. That definitely, I think I'm off just by a little bit here, which I'm just gonna fix. I usually try to get the whole landing set up before I start recording, at least some of the landing, but you know, whatever. There's only so much you can do. Now, the one thing I did not notice, though, is that we actually burned away a lot of RCS fuel. And I didn't even intend to use that much, but we're basically down to less than 100 units per tank on the station, which isn't that, or I should say on the base, I should say. Yeah, I ended up just using a little bit too much in transit. I wasn't really looking, I don't really need it for anything, so it wasn't that big of a deal, but I mean, I usually try to keep a good amount on the Hab before I actually land it, but there's only so much you can do, to be honest. So this is looking fairly good. I'm not, I don't know. I don't know if this landing is gonna go as well as I want it. Let's see, we need to lift this up, go down again, lift that up. Now with landing, I usually try to overshoot just by a little bit. It makes things a little bit easier for you. It makes no sense to basically put your node like right there because of the fact that the planet is moving, or the moon, I should say, is moving. Not to mention, you don't end up just landing directly where that is, basically. So that's just a few different things. I mean, we're fairly lined up. That looks somewhat good. But one thing I want to mention as well is there are subscriber submissions as well. And I've been doing subscriber submissions for a while. It was, one thing I will say too, is it was all recommended by the viewers. So the people that wanted it got it, and that's the one thing I really should say as well. It wasn't like I'm trying to copy anyone or do anything, because I know there are other people out there that also kind of have the exact same kind of thing where you submit craft and then they kind of feature it in an episode, and you know, they talk about it and they fly it and crash it into the ground like I normally do. But yeah, this is one thing I wanted to kind of just mention to you guys. It was all recommended by viewers. It wasn't like I was like, oh, well, I should do this because other people are doing it. So that is another thing too. I mean, I've gotten a few messages where people were a little upset, but I mean, not on the comments, but emails. And I understand why you're upset. And, you know, there isn't really very much I can do. I mean, my decision on the episode, it seems like my decision was all made just on a whim during that one episode, like after I flew all the craft, and I was just like, okay, well, this one's the winner. It really didn't go that way. I mean, most of those recordings were spaced out over the week, because as soon as I got the craft, I basically I messed around with the craft a little bit, and that was about it. I really didn't do much with the craft after I flew it, but, you know, a few of them I had to just kind of figure out how to fly them, because it was a little bit stressful using different crafts, and not to mention people set the things up differently. They want you to use specific keys, which, you know, with the hotkeys or whatever, I can't think of the name of what, action groups, there you go. With the action groups, sometimes, you know, whatever you set up, I will say I tried using the action groups on every single one of those craft. It wasn't like I didn't try, but with the action groups, I always have mixed results with using them. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. So that's all I'm going to say with that. So I'm not going to say that any specific person's craft was horrible or anything like that. It was all fun. It was really fun for me, at least. So I'm hoping that most people had fun with all of this. So let's see. It looks like we're getting fairly close. I kind of want to knock this thing off into the side a little bit. We're going a little bit off to the right side of the crane. I have the crane basically placed right kind of where I want the base. So I did that just, you know, to have the marker where I need it. Ooh, screen flash. I don't know what happened. So what else is new? I really haven't had very much go on other than hitting 1,100 subscribers, which is another really big feat for me. I mean, there's a lot of YouTube channels out there. I will say, the one thing I've noticed on YouTube more than anything is that there are... Oh, God, what's going on? Oh, the one thing I have noticed is that a lot of smaller channels generally kind of stay small, which I'm not trying to say I want to be like the next Kurt J. Mac or this person or that person or whatever, but I've noticed that, you know, a lot of channels generally always stay kind of small. They don't really grow very much, and I'm really curious. The only thing I've really noticed is that, like, basically, with a lot of YouTube channels and with the smaller people, the bigger you are, I can understand this a little bit. The more you get asked to feature people and stuff like that, which I'm totally okay with, by the way. So if you guys know somebody or you want me to feature you, I will do it as long as I see that it's worth featuring you. But the one thing I notice is you get a lot of requests on people to feature you. So that is one thing I will say. It is at times a little bit annoying, but I understand where you're coming from. So I never really sought out that way of being featured, and I really don't know how it got popular, but that's just me. I like to think that I got popular by doing something amazing and doing fun things in the game and just overall enjoying the game that I've been playing. Now, I'm hopeful that the crane doesn't explode or any kind of bad things. I'm just praying that bad things don't happen. So let's bump ourselves over a little bit. I'm very sure that the crane won't explode, but I don't know. I have seen worse in this game. The moon, what is it? The mobile moon base that I built, I can only load it at certain points, because if I try to load it sometimes, it basically gets attacked by the Kraken and bad things happen. That's all I can say. Whoa, there we go. Now, I'm a little bit weary of using my landing stage, and I think I'm going to try to land with this main engine here. I always do this, but I kind of just am a little too weary of trying to use this landing stage. For some reason, every single time I set up this landing stage, it never works. So I'm going to stick with using this for now, but I got my fingers crossed that I'll be able to decouple and everything will be alright, so... Oh yeah, by the way, I should mention, this engine here is a nuclear engine. It comes with the KSP pack, and it's basically the same thing as the regular nuke engines. It's just, it's like two of them combined, basically. So that's kind of the best way I can describe it. It's like either two or three of them combined. So in the weight's roughly, it's a little bit less weight, but if you can understand that, you know, multiple engines would weigh more as opposed to having one big one, it would weigh a little bit less. But yeah, so let's just slow down here. I want to get down to at least like 2 meters a second or something. I can get some kind of a... Oh, alright, that's a little too slow for my liking. Just keep the engine burning. That way we're not gonna crash. Alright, that's still too fast. Dialing in these engines too is always kind of a pain in the butt. There we go. I think we're dialed in pretty well. Let's see if I can just land directly on the engine, no problem whatsoever. That'd be amazing. Come on. I am keeping this thing pretty well lined up. That is one thing I will say, without any RCS as well. Oh, that's so perfect. That is amazing. Just take the weight. Oh my god, what's going on? That is freaky. Okay, I guess the collision... Oh, okay. Now it's gone. Yeah, wow. Alright, let's... That was very strange. Let's see. A little weary of decoupling, but everything appears to be okay. I'll put the gear down. Alright, we're still kind of like hovering. So we'll get rid of this. Alright, that is amazing. Just get ourselves off the ground here. And I'm just gonna work it over to the side. Get us away from some of this debris. We do have a good amount of fuel, but it's not going to last that long. So, alright, bring this over. The one thing I have to do too, I'm not sure, but these modules aren't habited, so I don't know if they could potentially get deleted, which would not be a very good thing. Alright, well, there we go. So, I don't know, I might end up just calling the episode as soon as we land, because I'm not 100% certain that everything is going to stay. So, let me see. I'll turn on the lights here so we can see, and I'll cover a little bit of the craft for right now, and the next episode we'll definitely get into setting up, because I just want to make sure that nothing gets deleted. I got to get some people on the surface. That would make a little bit more sense. I'll just get some people inside these modules, that way, just in case they don't get deleted or anything. But anyways, I ended up combining a lot of portions of the different parts, and I welded them all together, but a lot of them, you can notice that, like, just clicking on this Hab module piece here, a lot of the stuff is all combined. You can see that there's a little bit of fuel and oxidizer, which, excuse me, there's a little bit of fuel and oxidizer, which you can see there's a fuel tank there, the oxidizer, and then there's the fuel, there's the RCS tank, the 2 xenon tanks right there. That is all combined into one piece, not to mention on the bottom of this craft, there's a docking port. I put that there for aesthetics. It really has no purpose. And there should have... Oh, yeah, there it is. There is a... I was wondering why I couldn't click on it. Everything's all combined. But there is a battery, which is located right above it. And then on top, I ended up not really changing very much. There are no command modules attached to any of these pieces, though. That's the other thing as well. I really tried to make sure that there was no command modules, none of that stuff. And it's down to relatively little parts. Most of this parts where it says 129, a lot of that is these, the space tape, and this, I guess you want to call it a sky crane, kind of, sort of. A lot of it is in that, and I mean, I'm not going to cover everything as far as that, but I did add, you know, some extra stuff here, the communicatrons, just for aesthetic stuff, and even on the base itself, it does have its own energy source, at least a little bit, so it can produce some of its energy, but it's all kind of a all-in-one kind of unit. It all works together. It's pretty freaking awesome. And I did put I believe it's the what is, I can't even remember the name of it. I don't know. It's a seismic detector and the temperature data. I know it doesn't serve any purpose because we're playing the sandbox, but it's just little stuff like this, along with the lights, which I should mention look freaking awesome. And we should extend the ladders as well, because I think it just gives you kind of a better understanding on how everything looks. And I think this new base looks a little bit better than the old one. There are certain things, there's always drawbacks, but here is our new crane as well. Our new crane, once again, I was talking about the SAS units, which it has a bigger battery storage, almost, I think, double than what it had before. And there's just a lot of new stuff. I ended up putting gear on it, so it has 2 different forms, basically, of stopping and having a stationary crane, which is kind of amazing. And just how it all came together, compared to the old one, how this one came together was so much better. I ended up loading these things up as well, so there is actual stuff in here that we can use, a lot of these struts and stuff like that, but overall, everything looks amazing. So anyways, guys, If you like what you see here, subscribe. There's always more to come. To all you new people, welcome. And, yeah. I will see you next time.